Hello there. Let me make my camera a little bit bigger. How are you today? There we are. I'm back, ready to talk about making inferences. I just came. Do you have any guesses on where I came from? Maybe you can make an inference based on what you observe that I am wearing these amazing ski goggles. And what you know, people wear ski goggles when they ski or snowboard. So maybe you could infer that I just got back from a great day on the slopes. You would be right. Not really. Actually, I'm teaching instead of skiing. But I just wanted to help you make some inferences. So hopefully you didn't forget about what those meant. Just a reminder, what is an inference? Actually, that wasn't a reminder, that was a question. Let me ask it again. What is an inference? Hopefully you said it's when you take what you read or observe plus what you know, you put it together and you make a decision. And you would be right if that's what you said. So let's look right here. I'm going to make my camera a little bit smaller and put it right down here. And man, I have goggle hair. I'm going to take care of that. There we go. Okay, much better. All right. So here's our little cartoon characters. They help us remember how to make an inference. And we take what we read, because it's reading class, or what we observe, plus what we know. We put them together and we make a decision. Today, we are going to practice this with some text. Okay, so let's talk about what it looks like to make inferences when you read. Yesterday, we worked on making inferences when we observed a photograph, when we observed what was in my purse. Okay. And today, we're going to work on making inferences when we read a passage. So let's look at this side right over here that says what you observe. And I want you to pay attention to three main things as you're reading. I want you to pay attention to the details that you read, okay? That text evidence right there in the passage. I want you to pay attention to the details about characters and the setting. Ooh, what are characters? That's right. I bet you're saying it's the people in the story. And what's a setting? Remember when and where the story takes place. And then I want you to pay attention to the problems happening to the character. We could also think of these as conflict. Okay. And then you're going to add that to what you already know. What you already know is your prior knowledge or your background information, things you might already know about what's going on in that story. If it's talking about real life events, you might know that. Okay. If it's talking about a fifth grader, you might know, I hope you do know, what it's like to be a fifth grader. So you could add that prior knowledge, that background information to what you read. And then another thing is, what do you know in real life already about these things? Okay, so you're going to take what you observe or what you read plus what you already know, and you're going to make a decision or an inference. We can also call this drawing conclusions. So let's practice a little bit. I've got a passage right here. I want you to make sure you can see this passage right up here. And I'm going to read this. And just like in class, I want you to follow along with me as I read this passage. Okay. And then we're going to make an inference together. So follow with me. Trent and Trevin put the fire out and used flashlights to find their way to the tent. Once they crawled in and zipped it closed, they snuggled inside their sleeping bags and went to sleep. So now we need to figure out, what are Trent and Trevin doing? Okay. And we want to answer, how do we know that? So I made our two columns, our what I observe column and our what I already know column. And then we're going to make an inference. So let's look at what I observe. We can also call this clues from the text. So we're going to go right back up to this text and see what details we learned. Well, I took out the detail, put the fire out. Okay. They put out the fire. They also used flashlights. That's a clue from the text that gives me some information about what they're doing. Another clue is on their way to their tent. This word tent right here gives me a lot of information. Okay, I don't sleep in a tent every night. I don't know about you. I hope you don't. Okay, and then on this last one, snuggled in sleeping bags. I do have a person in my family who likes to sleep in a sleeping bag as often as he or she can. So maybe you're like that too. It's not me. So I don't really like to sleep in a sleeping bag, but a sleeping bag gives us a clue as to what they might be doing, especially when we combine it with tent and put the fire out. So those are things that we can observe from the text. Now let's look over here. I'm going to move my camera. And what we already know, okay? I know that fire, tents, and sleeping bags are used when people camp outside. So if I take my clues from the text plus what I already know, I can combine them and I can infer that Trent and Trevin are doing what? Any guesses? Any inferences? Let's read the inference together. It's this red one at the bottom. Read it out loud with me. I can infer that the boys are camping. Yes, we know that they're camping because of the clues we read in the text and what we know in real life about camping. So we took what we read plus what we know, and we made an inference. Great job, fifth graders. Hey, all right. Now we're going to do a little bit more practicing, and this will take you through your assignments for today. Actually, I want to go right back to this one. Okay. On one of your pages in your bundle today, you have several short passages just like this one. And then you will have a question where you're going to make an inference on what's going on. So I believe there are 4 short passages that you'll read, maybe 5, and then you'll answer the questions, making your best inference. Remember to use what you read plus what you know. Okay. And then on the back of that, there's a fun little inference practice that is kind of like a guessing game. And I'm going to give you an example right here, okay? This says, what's my job? And your page that you're going to do says, what's my occupation? And occupation is a synonym for job. What's a synonym? Ding, 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 ding. That's right. It's 2 words that mean the same or similar things. Okay, so job is the same as occupation. So we're trying to guess this person's job or occupation, and you're going to do a similar thing on your worksheet today. I'll talk about that in just a minute. First, I want you to play this game with me. So here's your first clue. I have about 600 people I am in charge of. Most of those people are under the age of 12. Oh, well, that's interesting. I wear comfortable clothes to work every day. So they probably don't work in some big office building. And I don't think that a lot of people under the age of 12 are in some office building either. So, oh no. Oh, there's my last clue. Okay. I have an office, but I spend a lot of my time walking to classrooms, out with the buses, and in the cafeteria. So let's put these 4 clues together and solve this riddle. What's this person's job? So I have about 600 people I'm in charge of, and most are under the age of 12. Well, I know that there's hundreds of people in a school, and especially if it's an elementary school, most of those people are under the age of 12. So I know that those 2 things together tell me this is some sort of child center or school. And then it says I wear comfortable clothes to work every day. Well, I work in a school and I wear comfortable clothes to work every day. So it might be a teacher, but I'm not in charge of 600 people. I'm just in charge of 25 at a time. And so could it be somebody who works in my building, but is in charge of everybody? Well, let's look at this last clue. I have an office, but I spend a lot of my time walking to classrooms. And it says classrooms, so more than one. Well, I know teachers and people in school do that. Out with the buses. Oh, I know that Mrs. Sutherland and Miss Sidlecki and Mr. Peterson are all out with the buses. And in the cafeteria. Oh, I also know that those people are in the cafeteria. I bet. So now I want to go back to I have about 600 people I'm in charge of. I'm thinking that's Mr. Peterson because he's in charge. And so I know that Mr. Peterson is in charge of 600 people or about that, and that most of them are under the age of 12, and that he wears comfortable clothes to work, and he has an office, but he spends a lot of time walking to those places as well. So I can use those clues, what I observe, plus what I already know about Mr. Peterson and his job, and I can infer that this person's job must be an elementary school principal. You will solve about 3 different clues, a lot like this one, today on your worksheet. There are 3 little stories that describe somebody's job or occupation, and then you have to guess what their job is and tell how you know that. As always, email me, get in touch with me if you have any questions. I'm here to help. I miss you. Happy inference making, and I will see you again tomorrow.